I genuinely feel like if I met Styx, like he's probably a great guy, and I probably would get along with him. Okay, let's see this top 3 gacha games.
So like, what would you say
He talks about you? There's no way he talks about me.
is your current like top gacha games at the moment?
Oh, games plural? Okay.
Yeah, game or games. Like maybe top 3 if you can, if you want to.
No, I answer this all the time in comments and on stream. My number 1 favorite is Nikke because of the storytelling. I think it has an incredible story that a lot of people misinterpret as just being a booba game. I think Arknights comes in at number 2 definitely because of its storytelling and its fantastic like world building that it's done, and I'm also a huge fan of tactical gameplay. And then number 3 would be Guardian Tales, or was Guardian Tales until Renacida came out, and now
Fob is having an internal crisis right now.
Like it's a toss up between Guardian.
No, I'm not. I just want to see if he would say a Hoyo game.
Tales and
I feel like Styx is in that camp where if you put a Hoyo game in your mouth, like, you know, you would get like stamped as a loser. So like I don't think Styx would ever say a Hoyo game.
Woo-wah, because 2.0 has been absolutely insane in terms of quality. Such a, a 180. And because
I wholeheartedly believe there is a segment of the gacha CC space that like if they ever mentioned anything positive about a Hoyo game, they would like, they would lose all clout, or like, all their fans would hate them.
Being something this good, especially given how underwhelming the first 3 chapters of 1.0 were, and the reception that 1.0 kind of received at the time.
What if he
said
Guardian
Power
Tales
because
chat?
It is the most, I don't know, like lighthearted, very fast, very action-packed.
Or they just hate Hoyo crazy concepts. I mean, sure, you could dislike Hoyo games, but like, I've seen enough from Styx where I don't think he has actually good reasons for hating things. He would just hate things to hate things because it would be more trendy to do so.
Play friendly, I don't know, like very narrative driven gacha game, and I'm a big narrative guy. I love stories, and if your story sucks, I'm gonna stop playing.
Oh. You had tweeted out.
Wouldn't you interview with Rubee? I've literally had 2 videos with Rubee already.
Which game would you recommend to new players to start with between Genshin and WoWa? And I actually want to ask you before that, like, have you played Genshin since the beginning? Are you currently playing it? Are you up to date?
I don't know if you know who Cry is, but he and I go way back.
Talk about Cry.
He was the first content creator to reach out to me, to recognize me, and to help me get my first sponsorship. He and I were the first content creators to cover Genshin Impact within the hour
Not Cryotic,
of its
chat.
trailer drop.
Cryotic is the fucking PewDiePie guy. There's someone else named
both
Cry.
He and I did a dedicated video that went on to garner 100,000 plus views each. The game was perceived falsely, but perceived to be an MMO, which is why both he and I covered it, because we're both MMO YouTubers, or were at the time. And we covered the various stages of development that it went through, every beta test leading to launch. I streamed and did dedicated videos on every test phase.
This is what I'm saying, bro. There was literally a delusional segment of the space that thought Genshin was an MMO. It really always confused me how that even, like, came to be. But
I played...
It was always very confusing.
And then I played all the way till the final 2.x patch.
You were one of them, little bro? No, I wasn't. What do you mean? I did not think Genshin was an MMO. I literally remember playing all the time in the first release of Genshin, and people would come into my chat all the time. It's like, is this an MMO? I'm like, no, it's not a MMO.
I stopped before 3.0, which was Sumeru, and that is because I got into Arknights. They sponsored me, and they wanted me to like devote a lot of time to the game, and at the time, I was like, I can't juggle Genshin and this right now, so I put Genshin on the back burner for like a week or 2, and then I got into Arknights, and I was like, this is a really fun game, and that like broke me into the gacha genre, because until that point, and a lot of MMO players still have this misconception, but gacha games, I thought, were just crappy mobile games like Lineage M Lineage Revolution, Blade and Soul M, Blade and Soul Revolution, all those really crappy.
He's literally only naming fucking mobile MMOs, which are all shit.
Little top-down
mobile
isometric
MMOs are all dog
autoplay,
shit.
pay-to-win grinders. So when I played Genshin, I was like, holy crap, this is a freaking game. And at the time, like, even to this day, I think Genshin is a phenomenal game. And I think it does a lot of things incredibly well and still does numerous things better than any other gacha game out there. But that being said, it definitely shows its age. And I did go back to it recently.
This is a very reasonable take from Styx, actually.
57 or 58 account. And I realized, God, this just feels awful to play.
Yeah, it has. I definitely think like
I don't know about it feels awful to play. It's like we literally just did the combat event on Genshin. I don't think that felt awful to play. So I don't agree with the awful to play, but it does feel like an older game. Like you could tell its age, you know? I think that's the best way to say it. I wouldn't say it feels awful to play. It's more like, oh man, like oof, it does start feeling a little outdated. So
after 4, it's gonna be 5 years this year too, you know, like it's gonna show its age. But like in the beginning with Genshin, like when I played it as well, it was like such a refreshing feeling. Like everyone was immersed into it. They loved it. Exploring was just
Chad,
so
a lot of
fun.
people forget Genshin's pushing 5
but
years,
that being
man.
said, now that Wuwa is
It's
recently
old as fuck.
because it's approaching its 1 year anniversary in like a few months.
That's what I'm saying. I think
It's
Genshin
been for
needs
7
a
months so
fucking,
far. Yeah.
Genshin needs a
Yeah,
update.
we see that there's a lot of changes that they have made.
I think a live
that-
service game, once you get to half a
not
decade, you
changes.
do
well,
need some type
actually
of
changes
facelift.
now in 2.0 especially, but they definitely cater like
Especially with how
a much more
this
faster
industry
paced
now
environment,
goes with
especially
like
in
new and new
exploring the
releases,
open world and
you know?
whatnot. So
Your
I
game's
guess
gonna
like
start
my
feeling out of
question
date.
would be, would you still recommend Genshin now or no?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think Genshin is still a really good game, and I think while Wuthering Waves is definitely a faster paced game, that doesn't make it inherently better, right? Because there are people that think Punishing Grey Ravens got combat that is faster and more fluid and more responsive than Wuwa, but at the end of the day, having faster combat doesn't make you a better game. Having better graphics.
Who the fuck says that? Bro, as someone who plays both PGR and WoA and I've played both, I don't think that's true. I feel like that's just some PGR copers. Cause like I don't think it's comparable. Like, do I like PGR's combat? I actually like modern age PGRs or PGR and how the fucking orbs feel now, right? So it feels pretty good, but like to compare it to WoA, I think it's too different. Orb gameplay is literally impossible to compare to action gameplay. It really is. Like you really can't compare it 1-to-1. I think it's far too different. I mean, you think it's alt spam. It's not really. I mean, it is alt spam, but there's a like it's not much different than what you're really doing in any other game, right? Right. Let's just talk about WoA, right? In comparison, okay? Your intro skilling, your support intro or support fucking controller skill, fucking alts, all that shit. Rotate into your fucking main DPS, do their forward do your fucking alts, dump your shit, and then loop back to your support. So you're basically doing that same thing in PGR, right? You're doing the same thing with PGR, just at a much more rapid extent, and PGR has way more fucking what I do think are 2-part alts, right? PGR has a lot of those. And because of that, you feel like it's alt, but it's more like it's the alt just has 2 parts, and then it has 2 animations, so you're fucking doing it twice, and then blah, 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 blah. So I don't think it really is comparable. So I feel like the people who are comparing those two, between PGR and WoA, are a little coping. You're looking for any reason to shit on his take, but bro, surprisingly saying reasonable stuff this time. Where did you see me shitting on his take? Or are you just delusionally not listening to the things I'm saying? And I literally said he was being very reasonable. May, like, I swear to God, you're like one of the dumbest fishers in this chat. Like, you don't even listen to the things coming out of my mouth and you just say shit. So, like, you're like the easiest person to tell who's fishing because you just, like, don't listen. So, you just say shit by yourself. So, that chatter's dumb as fuck. True. VIP that guy.
Graphics doesn't make you a better game. Having a better story doesn't make you a better game. But what Genshin does, right, is that it has good everything. It doesn't have the best everything, right? There are games that look better. Zenless looks better. Star Rail looks better. Wuwa looks better. Ananta looks better. A lot of games look better now. A lot of them play better.
He didn't say Tower of Fan.
Multiple of them, like Star Rail and Zenless, have better stories.
He would never say Tower of Fantasy, bro. Okay, to be fair, though, I don't think Tower of Fantasy looks better than Genshin. I feel like the biggest Tower Fantasy copers in chat can't even say that. Come on, man. I'm sorry. Genshin still looks way better than Tower Fantasy. Tower Fantasy is... Nah.
Right? Better voice acting, like a better world, so many things that they do better. But Genshin still does everything that it did well before. It still does well now. So if you're looking to get into the... if you're looking to get into the genre and you're like, well, I want something that isn't necessarily going to overwhelm me, then Genshin is still a fantastic starting point. And it was interesting that...
maybe he'll say the same thing, but I would probably say between the two games, if I had to recommend it to friends, right? Say if I had like 4 friends, right? And I know 2 of them play Animal Crossing all the fucking time and, like, like that type of video game shit, I'll recommend them the Genshin, 100%. And then I have 2 others who are, like, sweat lords who fucking, like, climb in competitive games and are a bit more sweaty with their shit. I would probably recommend them Uwa. I think that's fine. I think Genshin you could enjoy much more as a casual player. I think Uwa you could still enjoy just as much as a casual player, but there are things that are way cooler, I think, that require a bit more fucking hands-on that I don't think most casual players would end up interacting with. Because I think hologram is one of the most fun parts of WoA. I don't think most casuals can fucking do high-level holograms, Like, obviously, you'll get to a certain point, like difficulty 5-ish, I think, if you just max level your characters and with stats, you could probably clear it. But I think difficulty 6 is where, like, casuals just can't do it. So
that there wasn't a single person, I think, in like 300 comments, or maybe there were like 3 actually in 300 comments that said Genshin.
The only reason I shit on Styx is because of his own YouTube videos. This is not his YouTube video. This is a Gacha podcast. Like, this is fine. Like, that's why I'm not shitting on him here. Because 1, he doesn't have a dumbass clickbait title, right? Or clickbait thumbnail that is just has nothing to do with the fucking video. 2, he doesn't have a title that literally just says major news, gaming, EOS, Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, Tower of Fantasy. Like, he doesn't have that shit. So I'm not like, like, I could just listen to this and be perfectly fine and level-headed. But, like, when I watch his YouTube videos, thumbnail, title, every aspect is super clickbait, like, has almost nothing to do with what the contents of the video are about. That's why I shit on it, right? This though, this is fine. This is him just talking, having a reasonable discussion, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Genshin is a good starting point, and those 3 people only said it was a good starting point because they said Genshin is a kid's game, and I don't know. I always get a laugh out of that because I feel like Genshin is still a very deep, very, like, not overly complex, but still very it is a deep game with a lot of mechanics that you don't see in the vast majority of other gacha games. So
yeah,
starting with Genshin and then moving to something more complex like WoA in terms of combat or, the speed at which the game progresses. And
so I wouldn't say more complex. I don't think complex is the right word. Cause yeah, I wouldn't say complex. That complex is definitely not the right word. I think if you look at all the possible systems between Genshin and WoA, like, I don't think complexity is the fucking issue, right? I think it's more that WoA is, in its current state, can punish you a lot more with less methods to fucking pad that punishment, right? WoA doesn't have a Zhongli. WoA doesn't really have... it has sustainers, but I feel like none of the sustainers are to the point where it's just like brain dead and you could just unga bunga. Yet, right? The point I said yet, right? It could change in the future. It can, but we don't know. But Genshin has content where you can get clobbered too. But like, there's a lot more things in Genshin at this point because it's been out for 4.5 years that can mitigate that a lot easier and does make it a lot easier to interact with. Right? Obviously, there's all the complexity with EM and shit like that, but you really don't have to min-max that stuff. Because as long as you know what to apply in what order, it's just that simple, right? If you really break it down, you don't have to fucking pull out the spreadsheet and figure out what the fucking application strength of certain rotations are. You just have to read somewhere on what to do. So
plays at Genshin is a good starting point, and then moving onwards and up to Wuwa is a good next, like a good stepping stone. And then with everything else coming out, like, there's going to be a lot of variety, and I think if you haven't already and you're new to the genre, then there really isn't a better game that is more, and I don't mean this offensively to Genshin, but more simple, like simplistic and easy than Genshin. That is also an open world game with action combat. So
yeah, no, what you said was like perfect. Personally, for me, I always say like for new players, if they want something that's very...
Well, I told Rubee she should decorate her background. But I guess that would require to get a new updated picture in the background.
Because Genshin's 4 years in making, there's obviously like a lot of story. It's very...
No, the cup was there last time too, bro.
That they should start with that.
I told her she needs to put more besides the cup.
And then with Wuwa, it's like, I think the combat is so different than like Genshin. So I always say like, oh, if you want like something kind of fast-paced in combat, because I'm not gonna lie, Wuwa, when I first played it, especially in the closed beta, I felt like Wuwa reminded me of Tower Fantasy a lot. Just okay,
don't say that. Don't say that.
No, I know. Okay, I have like a bad habit of mentioning it, but like I remember in closed beta, I was like, oh wow, like the combat is fast. Like that's the thing. Like it's the slash. It's kind of flashy. It's appealing to the eyes. So yeah, I was like, oh, Genshin is like elemental fuse. It's still really cute. I think exploring, there's like something about it, like the simplicity. It's so like, for me, it feels nostalgic whenever I open up Genshin again and play it. And then Wuwa is like a different vibe, you know? So yeah, both are great games to start with, honestly, like you had mentioned.
I think it's a little crazy to me though that there were people on Twitter that, chat, you know how I said way back that we had this discussion where I said Wuwa was more Souls-like, and then chat got all maldy at me saying it's nothing like a Souls-like, but I said I wasn't saying it is Souls-like, I was saying it is more Souls-like compared to Genshin, right? That was what I was saying, but fucking chat took it as me saying it is Souls-like. I'm not saying it's Souls-like, right? That's not what I was saying. I'm saying it is more, like, ever so, if there was a spectrum, if Wuwa is a slightly more than the other, then it means it is more, right? That's the point, right? It obviously isn't Souls-like, but it does go to show on Twitter, there's a lot of fucking idiots saying Wuwa is a Souls-like.
Doro.
There are a lot of people on Twitter who say it's a Souls-like. So, they got it from you. No, they fucking did it. Okay? That's not true. Right? So, it makes you wonder, is Wuwa that hard for people? Is it? Because, like, don't get me wrong. I have a whale account. But
and 20
that's why...
chatters got banned that day 07.
That's why I do things like S0 Carlotta solo, right, on difficulty 6 hologram, because I'm like, okay, like, before I max unlock this is like what a base person should have, right? Like, someone who's a lower spender or like a free to play. So it's like, if I can do that, like, what do I mean? I don't know. You have to remember what an average player in this game is. Of course, it will be hard for them. Yeah, so like, in that extent, I unironically think Genshin is the better recommendation for the average casual player. Because I think Genshin actually takes less hands than Wuwa. Like, at least in my experience. No shit. Well, I don't know, bro. For some people, this might be a crazy hot take. There might be people in chat that are like, no, how dare you? Genshin is shit. Nobody should play that. Right? So, like, I gotta just make sure, you know? There might be some crazy deranged motherfuckers.
They really are. They're both very good games, but in different ways. People like to... they like to compare them and be like, oh, who was better in this area?
What makes a game a
Genshin...
Souls-like? So I think what a lot of casuals, when they say a game is more Souls-like, they just mean it's more difficult. They don't actually mean there's like Souls-like elements to it. They just mean it's harder, right? That's all they mean.
Players like, but Genshin...
Or they see parrying and that's like, or like dodging and they're like, oh my god, that's Souls-like. It's like, okay, but that's not.
It's better in this area. It's like, dude, they're both good in literally the vast majority of areas. They're just very different kinds of games. They occupy a similar style of game, like they are open world, they have action combat, they have voice acting, they have...
I would say HSR is also a
obtain
good
through
pick for casuals if they like the element of turn-based. Nah, I would never recommend a casual to play HSR. I think turn-based takes too much fucking brain power that most casual players would not fucking want to exert. And then you add to that like the power creep that HSR does have, and then that makes them require even more brain power that they need to exert to fucking get the maximum out of the characters that got power creep for them. Autoplay, chat. I've seen casual players' HSR accounts. These people do not have characters built remotely to a factor where they can even autoplay content. They build characters like donkeys, okay? Like, these are terrible players. Chat, do you want to know the real reason, unironically, why Hoyo has been putting character basically built into the game, baked in guides as to what relics, what echoes, or what artifacts you need to build in their Hoyo games? You want to know why? It's not because they want to take the jobs away from the guide makers. That's not why. It's because most casuals don't look up guides. It's because most casuals don't look up fucking how to play characters. They just play the game, and because of that, they're like, okay, most of our fucking players don't know how to play the fucking game. They're donkeys. They're idiots. So let's put this into the game so they could figure out that you should probably not put 4-piece wind set on Blade.
That's
or you should probably not, like,
HSR
you know,
as a
and
turn-based
stuff
game.
like that.
The
And they gotta
difficulty
figure
comes
shit
from
out
your
and like,
builds and
okay,
which
let's,
characters
you
you
gotta do
own,
this
not your
instead. You know,
decisions.
hold your hand. Here we go. And, you know, like, do that. Right? It's how it helps them. Okay, and how is that bad? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that's just how bad the player base is. I'm not saying what the quality of life is. I'm not saying the quality of life is bad. Why are you just getting Sniper Glorp? Are you just like looking to be angry for everything? Like, I'm not saying the quality of life is bad. I'm saying the fucking fact that the players are that dumb is bad, right?
But like, other than the bare basis of the game,
and that's why I'm saying HSR would probably not be my recommendation for like a new gacha player to try, because I think, especially a casual one, because I think it would take a little bit too much brain power.
They're still very different games that appeal to very different demographics of players. So,
are you currently caught up in Genshin and story?
No, I haven't gone beyond Sumeru 3.0.
Oh, okay. You know what? It's fair. It's fair. I was like, there's a lot to like uncover, and then you explore the world too and whatnot. So yeah, no, I was just curious because I mean,
life of a gacha news creator. News, Rubee, that you used the word news, the title news creator there very loosely. Have you watched his videos? I feel like news. Okay, news.
Another question I had now that I think about it is like, so you're like the news anchor for like gacha games.
Nah, he's more like, it's not even TMZ, because TMZ gets like insider scoops sometimes, you know? He's like, yeah, he's like tabloid, but like, you know, not one of those that are really even reliable. He's like Gacha Keemstar. Yeah, he's the Alex Jones of Gacha. Wait, that might be the most accurate way to put it. The Alex Jones of Gacha. InfoWars. Oh my god, wait, actually.
Right? Or to me, you're like the news. Like, if I want to find some news, oh, I know where to go.
Okay, now I know why Rubee doesn't know what's going on half the time. Fuck. That's where she's getting her news. Oh, shit. Fuck.
You cover a lot of things. I wanted to know, like, this just personally, Like also probably for the viewers, like where do you go to find these
Listen,
resources?
I'll put credit where credit is due, right? He does cover a lot of stuff that I never hear, right? And that does make him news. It's just that unfortunately he gets a lot of his news from r/Gacha Gaming, and I don't really deem r/Gacha Gaming to be the most reputable source of information, right? So you get your news from rage baiters on Twitter. How is that any better? No, I fucking don't. What do you mean? I get my news from you guys.
Because every time I click on a video, you always have like an article from like the official source or something that.
Are you saying you guys are rage baiters on Twitter?
I probably would never ever find.
Wait a second.
So yeah, like it's a lot to keep up, you know. Like where do you go to look for these?
No, we're worse.
Well, I have a number of different sources. One,
okay.
Twitter.
Okay.
People
is he gonna say r/Gacha Gaming?
Tweeting at me with links to Chinese, Korean, Japanese websites. Another is Discord. People love DMing me with links to official sources.
No, chat, say what you will, right? Obviously, he has his biases, and that's why I dislike a lot of the fucking information he puts out, because it does sound like it's biased, but he does cover a lot of fucking shit that he covers a ton of gachas I've never even fucking heard of. So like in that way it is news. So like that's why I'm saying credit where credit is due. He does have a lot of information. It's just he just comes off very biased.
Sources of information. There is Reddit, which I love. Just, you know, I'm on Reddit every time.
Say r/Gacha Gaming.
And you know, I see something and I'm like, oh, that sounds like an interesting topic. So then I will go and search for the original source.
He's not going to say
more information,
Gaming.
And then, you know, they'll fall into that rabbit hole. But a lot of the things I cover are probably, I keep up to date with a lot of what is happening with different gacha games that I cover. But a lot of other topics that get brought to my attention are actually from viewers, because I didn't start off like this. I started off having to do a lot of like very rigorous research onto every different game, trying to seek out information. Nowadays, people just constantly send me all these different things, and I'm like, that's great. You know, y'all are doing my job for me. I just sit here and compile the information, or I react to the information. But you guys are doing all the hard work and getting me the information that makes it easy for me to make it more digestible.
r/Gacha Gaming is unironically a good place for early
nice.
gacha news. No, they're fucking not. Because they put a lot of fucking shit up there that isn't even confirmed sometimes, and then it lingers for a while, and then until it gets taken down after being proven to be false. Like, it's not, like, a very good source. And r/Gacha Gaming is also one of the #1 fucking sites where someone literally can just take a random excerpt from China and then put it up on the Reddit site and be like, oh my god, the entire Chinese community is up in arms. Get this. Oh, look at this. And then it turns out it was just like 3 commenters on some random ass Billy post, and like it has like 10 views, and they just took that out of context to fucking push a narrative onto the Reddit site. Like, no, it is not reliable at all, man. It's literally one of the main fucking places where people use language barriers and lack of access to foreign like news or media, right, to just like push fucking agendas. It's not good at all. It's this stuff for like EOS and upcoming news, not the dumb opinion pieces. Okay, like maybe. So where should I get gacha news from? Look it up yourself. Don't trust anybody. I really don't believe there's anyone reputable that you can get all your news from for gacha. Just like in normal news, right? You really should not be getting all your news from one news, like, you know, news channel either. You shouldn't be getting all of it from Fox, CNN, whatever, right? NPR, etc. You should spread it out, get all the information that you can, and then, you know, you come to your own conclusions. That is the best way, I believe, to get information. You should not rely on one source. So
yeah, because like they, especially like if they want something to be reacted to, then they'll send it right away, you know, because like at least for me, if I don't see something, then I probably won't react to it. But then if they send it to me directly, then I'll see it and then I'll react to it. So it's like a guarantee that the footage the coverage that they want
My
you
goat
to look
Majestic.
at will be
By the way, what
covered
happened to
nonetheless.
Majestic? Does he
Mhm.
still make
That's
videos?
really sweet. That's really sweet of them. My goodness.
Yeah, it's essentially like they're part of the channel too, in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a community.
You know what? I'll admit, this is a pretty good video. I feel like, listen, this is why I said, chat, I probably would get along with him. It's just his YouTube channel is so clickbaity. My only gripe with him is his YouTube channel being so fucking clickbaity. All right, like that's the only thing, man. It fucking tilts me.